It's church against state. And this time the church won.
We will worship together. We will have congregational singing. And we could do that without the government interfering.
Hundreds more are evacuated in Boulder County as firefighters brace for powerful winds.
New outbreaks of coronavirus are reported within restaurants, stores, and factories.
An assault victim questions why only one of his 3 alleged attackers is charged with a biased motivated crime.
If it was 3 black men, we would be underneath that jail cell.
And a Colorado photographer finds light in the darkest of places.
How do you make positive situations out of bad ones?
And good evening, and thank you for watching another special hour-long edition of Denver7 News at 6. I'm Ann Trujillo.
And I'm Shannon Ogden. Boy, we have a lot to get to tonight, beginning with a surprise FBI announcement that Iran is behind threatening emails sent to likely Democratic voters.
It's also been determined that Iran and Russia were able to obtain some voter registration information. The FBI says the goal is to sow chaos and undermine confidence in our elections. Expect that story to develop throughout the evening. And now to a rare setback for the Polis administration. Until now, the governor has won pretty much every court challenge on COVID restrictions.
Well, not this time. A federal judge just ruled in favor of 2 small churches that believe they're being treated unfairly under current standards. Denver7's Sean told tonight with the judge's decision, the state's reaction, and what it all means for Sunday morning.
Prayers may have been answered when it comes to the ability of Denver area churches to worship in greater numbers. 2 churches challenged the governor's guidance on church crowds and won.
We were so thankful that a federal court would recognize our God-given right to worship Him.
Denver Bible Church in Wheat Ridge and Community Baptist Church in Brighton filed the lawsuit against the state.
This ruling is going to allow these churches to exercise their religious beliefs and carry on their religious worship without having to have a capacity limit or a mask mandate.
The entire faith community will not be celebrating just yet. The ruling only allows for these 2 churches to move forward without masks and capacity limits.
We could actually sing congregational singing, and we could gather.
Once the appeals process runs its course, the stage could be set for other churches to follow suit.
We hope other churches will join us and our sister church up north in Brighton.
To the earlier point, this is far from over, as the state filed an appeal in the 10th District Court.
This ruling is an important step, but it's just one step in what will be a big process and a long process, I'm sure.
Depending on what happens, it could head to the Supreme Court, or even back to federal court.
We ask for the blessing of God and a fair hearing from the court.
The state tells Denver7 they won't comment on pending litigation. But in the meantime, these 2 small churches.
We will worship together. We will have congregational singing, and we could do that without the government interfering.
Sean Toll, Denver7.
Another 100 homes and the 234 people living in them have been evacuated ahead of strong winds blowing toward the Calwood fire. Lions Park Estates is the affected neighborhood. There are also new evacuations this evening in Grant County because of the East Troublesome fire. Containment stands at only 10%. Finally, crews battling the Cameron Peak fire are preparing for what looks to be a long and trying night ahead. Already, more than 200,000 acres have burned. Chief Meteorologist Mike Nelson is monitoring the conditions. Mike, the last time we had winds like this in the forecast, the Cameron Peak fire exploded in size.
Well, it's doing it, as is the East Troublesome fire. Look at the gusts up in the mountains right now. 37 at Berthoud Pass, Kremling with 31 miles per hour. And this is a time lapse from Loveland Ski Area right at the top of the Continental Divide. That's the smoke off the East Troublesome fire. And you can really see the wildfire smoke from all of the different fires along the Front Range. That's not precipitation, that is all smoke. Air quality advisories are in effect. Fire weather warnings remain in effect in those areas as well. And across the state, the entire mountain chain down to New Mexico under red flag or fire weather warnings. Temperatures have been warm today. They'll stay windy and warm tonight. But there's good news in the weather headlines. Big changes are on the way. A couple of cold fronts are coming in. Very cold air and snow arrived this weekend. A huge help from Mother Nature. I'll have the details on that coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Mike. Colorado confirming another 1,200 cases of the coronavirus this evening. 532 people currently in the hospital tonight. And we've had some questions about why the numbers we are reporting are higher than those from other media outlets. The reason, Other stations and newspapers are reporting only confirmed cases of COVID-19, and we traditionally reported confirmed and suspected cases as both take up hospital space.
The JBS corporate office has another confirmed outbreak of coronavirus. The previous one was resolved back in May and resulted in the death of an employee. Now, the latest was confirmed 2 days ago and has led to 8 workers testing positive. 6 employees died and 292 others were infected with the virus at the main facility in Greeley. Other outbreaks of note include the Suncor plant in Commerce City, a Home Depot off Mississippi in Aurora, and a Freddy's Custard in Broomfield.
Adams 12 is meeting right now, in fact, to decide on moving middle and high school students back to remote learning for the remainder of the semester. Those students are going 2 days a week in person right now. Grades K through 5 will stay the same, students attending in person 5 days a week.
The attorney for security guard Matthew Dolliff said today her client's case shows obvious evidence of self-defense. Dolliff is charged with second-degree murder in the shooting of Lee Keltner. He remains in the Denver County Jail on $50,000 bond.
The state has ordered a Leadville funeral home to close following complaints of remains being mishandled. Back in December, a woman trusted Bailey Kent Funeral Home to cremate her stillborn child. And just from the weight, she immediately knew there was something wrong and had those remains sent off for testing. Well, the test revealed the presence of a child, but also bone fragments of an older person. Metal was also detected.
A Denver man who lost his eye in a recent attack believes 2 of the suspects are getting away with it.
He told his story to contact Denver7's Jacqueline Allen.
We went into the IHOP to eat.
What started with dinner at this Greenwood Village IHOP
I never saw that much blood in my life.
ended with Daryl Brewer losing his left eye.
I'm a black man. When I get assaulted by 3 white dudes, and I get no justice to that?
Greenwood Village 911, what's the address of your emergency?
Police reports state last January, Brewer and a friend were eating when they say 3 men started giving them dirty looks.
He stared at us the whole way out. I mean, you'll see that in the videotape.
Police reports state IHOP surveillance video appears to show the 3 men returning to the restaurant window twice to antagonize Brewer. Brewer says using the N-word. When he and his friend went to the La Quinta next door, he says that same group ambushed him.
It was a can that he had folded up in his hand, a beer can, and he hit me center dead in my eye. I heard that pop inside of me, and then all I saw was just blood just started gushing from everywhere.
Medical records show Brewer soon learned his eye could not be saved. Greenwood Village police arrested 31-year-old Brian Ogden for second-degree assault.
It was total racist attack. I mean, there was, N-words being flung around.
Brewer's attorney says they had to pressure DA George Brockler to increase the charge, now first-degree assault and bias-motivated crime. But they're fighting now for the 2 other men involved to also face charges.
If you aid, abet, and encourage another person to commit a crime under our law, you are just as guilty as the person who actually did the act.
Brockler's office would only release a statement saying at this time no other individuals have been charged in relation to this incident.
But if it was 3 black men, we would be underneath that jail cell and we would be in a jail right now.
When he looks at his eye, Brewer says what keeps him going is this fight. He says justice shouldn't be determined by the color of your skin.
When all 3 of them get charged, that's when I'm going to come at peace with myself.
The suspect, Brian Ogden, told police this was self-defense because he thought Brewer had a gun. Ogden will be in court next week. Meanwhile, Brewer's attorney has notified the DA if he doesn't prosecute the other 2 men, they will petition the court themselves for appropriate prosecutions. For Contact Denver7, I'm Jacqueline Allen.
Coming up, a photographer trains his eye on disaster and to positive effect.
Plus, the Broncos hope to get the band back together in time for the Chiefs.
Big concerns for fire and smoke, but a huge change coming in the forecast.